Welcome to Entreprogrammers Podcast, the podcast for developreneurs, with your hosts, Josh Earl, Derick Bailey, and John Sonmez, the podcast where you get to be a fly on the wall listening to real conversations of three developers trying to tackle the challenges they face as entrepreneurs.
The Entreprogrammers Podcast is brought to you by Signalleaf.com. It's not just the best audio host for your podcast, it's also the only podcast host that we'll talk about during the Entreprogrammers Podcast, because Signalleaf is one of the services that I'm building and often used as fodder for information that we talk about during the Entreprogrammers Podcast. So check it out at Signalleaf.com. It's podcast hosting without the headaches.
We're live.
Okay.
Yes, I am sitting in my closet today. I've been recording
it's like
all morning.
Okay. I thought maybe this like UFO like band was interviewing you about your abduction. It seemed like.
Yeah, I gotta get my minutes. No, I have a pretty slick little setup. Honestly, it's I've got around on me, and then all of the clothing hanging around too, and it really absorbs a lot of sound, so I don't get a ton of echo into my microphone here. So, and I've got a full desk, a monitor, a keyboard. I mean, I have everything in here as if I were working at a normal desk, but it's all just for recording stuff here, and it gives me some pretty stellar sound quality. And as you can see, I get this lovely lighting effect when I have this lamp turned on over here.
So I guess all of your clothing that you own is black, then?
Most of it is.
Got a little sign.
I mean, there's black in quite a bit of it. It is. Am I going bad? Okay. I'm gonna have to leave this closet. I get terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get terrible signal in here.
See, if you put on the tinfoil hat, though, then you can get better signal. Just keep your hands on the keyboard, put on the tinfoil hat.
Right. Should I move back to my office, or is this going to be good enough?
Let's see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah.
Okay.
So do you actually have two Rode podcaster mics then?
No, I just move it back and forth. I've got it on the swing arm. And I have a clamp mount on this desk, and I have a through-hole mount on the other desk, actually drilled into the desk. Okay. So I move the swing arm back and forth.
Nice.
Cool. Oh, you know what? I just realized, like, here I am in workout clothes again, and people are probably wondering now that they're actually watching this podcast, why am I always in workout clothes? Like, do I always wear workout clothes all the time?
Always.
Because I go to the gym on Friday mornings.
Because you're a beefhead, dude, and that's all you do.
Every Friday morning I go to the gym. That's it. Always. I'm always ready to do pull-ups. That's any moment. So yeah, we've been having some pretty good success. I mean, we released a whole volley of episodes, but there's apparently some people that are keeping up with them and listening to all the episodes, which is pretty cool. And I've been seeing tons of tweets and stuff, so that's good. I guess we have a lot of listeners.
Yeah,
we do. The Signalleaf stats are pretty impressive as well. I was looking at them this morning, and we had close to 5,000 listens total.
Nice.
Let me check the stats again real quick. Yeah, so 4798 total listens with 297 subscribers, RSS subscribers, and that doesn't even include the stuff on YouTube. That's just the RSS subscribers.
Derick, I think you're going to have to move.
Yeah, you just got it.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
It's dropping off.
I guess he'll join back in. But yeah, that's
pretty
good.
Cool. That's I've been pleasantly surprised at the amount of Twitter traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. If it spreads by word of mouth, that'll be a really good thing. So.
Yeah, I wasn't sure anybody. I think everybody does a podcast says this. But I wasn't really sure anybody would want to listen.
Yeah. I'm still not sure, but I mean, I guess it makes sense though. Like, I'm trying to think, like, if I listen to this podcast, probably. I mean, I listen to somewhat similar things, on freelancing or on entrepreneurial type of things. I mean, they're mostly talk show type of formats, but I think back, I guess, like before I started doing entrepreneurial type of things, I would definitely listen because I would want to know what are people who are actually like making money selling products or doing, that are making the leap, doing their own stuff. What are they doing? Like, how are they doing it? What are the numbers? So I would be, because I was for a long time, I always wanted to do some of my own thing, to sell something on my own, to do some kind of freelancing, and I had no idea how to do it. I had no idea. Like, I didn't know anyone who was doing it really, and I didn't know anyone to ask. So I guess that would be. I would have definitely been a listener,
Yeah, it wasn't even really on my radar until like a few months before I started working on my book.
Yeah.
I didn't really think it was, I didn't think it was something that you could actually like make money doing. So.
What happened to Derick?
I think he dropped off to move, so.
Yeah.
He has to remount his mic probably, and.
Okay, I don't know if I have to re-invite him. I'll try that. We'll see. But. Okay. Well, while we're waiting for Derick, how's your book sales going?
I have not checked my stats this week.
Okay.
Definitely dropped off. So last week I had a nice little bump. I got a nice little bump on my DPD page. So my standalone non-LeanPub page that I'm using to try to use as my main sales platform. I had a nice little bump in traffic and a nice little bump in sales. I got like 500 hits for the week on that last week, and that was pretty good. And I think I got like 8 or 9 sales to it, which is really, really high for me. And I think what it was I think it was a delayed bump from the thousands of dollars I was spending on Twitter ads leading up to that. So I think those I ended those about 2 weeks ago, and I'd spent like $300 plus on Twitter ads and not seen a lot, but then I think the next week I saw a nice little swell from it, and now it's kind of back to normal. My traffic seems to be down to that page, but I'm really excited because I finally got A/B testing working on that page.
Oh, yes. Nice. You're using Visual Website Optimizer?
Yeah, Visual Website Optimizer is amazing. I love it. It's $50 a month, I think, that I'm going to end up paying for it, but it's so worth it.
Yeah.
So I set up a test. So I rewrote last weekend. I rewrote my sales page, but I haven't posted the updated version yet because I was running a test where all I did was change the headline.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so the old headline was pretty bad, so I tried a new headline, and I didn't have conversion tracking set up right, so I didn't find out which one my sales came from, but I got a 400% increase in clicks on the Buy Now button.
Really?
On my new, yeah.
Wow.
I'm telling you, man, headline.
That's nuts.
That's impressive.
Wait, how much data did you have though? How many?
It was pretty small. It was about 250 total visits, but it was enough that Visual Web Optimizer said they had a 98% confidence that my new version would win.
Right.
So it was a pretty significant jump.
Wow.
So what I'm doing now that I've got conversion tracking working, I'm gonna just I want to post the new version of my sales page, but I'm just gonna let this test run for a little while longer, maybe another week, and collect some more data, because I think I want to do like a case study write-up. But I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of good copywriters saying that a new headline can change the conversion by 1,000%.
Right.
Like it can be very dramatic. So probably people were bouncing as soon as they saw the old headline, never even bothered to read it. So.
What was the old headline compared to the new?
It was something, I'd need to look. It was something like I think it was like Code Like a Pro with Sublime Text, today's premier text editor, something like that. Right. And the new one is something like Sublime Text is more powerful than you think. See what you're missing.
Oh, nice.
Something. I've learned one thing I've seen on my Twitter ads in general is that putting the word Sublime text early in the headline or tweet or whatever makes a big difference.
Right.
Yeah.
So I put those first, very first words. So that tool is amazing though. It'll totally pay for itself. Like if I could just double my conversion rate is so low on that page. If I could double it, which is easily doable, that would be more than pay for the tool.
Oh yeah.
Several times over for the month.
Right.
So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this test for a while, and I think I'm just going to have like a test a week.
Yep.
Just have a test that I'm always running. I'm always running something. So I think the next one will be swapping out the body copy with the new sales page that I wrote.
Now here's one thing. I can't remember if I read it in the 80/20 book or if Jeremy Reeves, that copywriter guy that I've been trying to hire, had said it. But he said wherever the source was, it was one of the biggest split testing mistakes is testing too small.
Right.
And they basically said, like take 10 things that are totally different, completely different, like 10 versions of a landing page, just totally randomly differently out there, not variations of one, but just 10 totally different landing pages, and split test that, and then pick your winner out of there, because what he said was, which made a lot of sense to me, is like, you don't know if one of those like just total different ideas of a landing page or a copy is going to be like 500 times better, right? So there's like if you find that one outlier that's like extremely better than the rest, then take that one and then do 10 variations of that once you have it, or pick the top 2 or 3 and then vary on those. But that might be something that you try to do is come up with, like, because you've got a new landing page copy, but you might maybe start off with, I don't know about 10 because that might take a long time, but maybe 5 of them.
So what you described, that's called multivariate testing, and it supports that. Visual Website Optimizer supports that. The problem is you need a lot of traffic to do that.
Right.
If I had 5 versions of my page, that would mean that over the course of a week, each one would only get 50 hits, if I'm lucky.
Right.
So that is, that slows me down. Now I'm only testing. Now I have to let that test run for at least a month.
So run it for a month, because frankly, I think you're going to get better results doing that. You're going to find, you're not doing this for the immediate wins of small bumps. You're really looking for that long-term conversion optimization, and you're going to get a much better result by doing that. I think this actually did come from the 80/20 book. He was talking about doing this with Google Ads, and he was saying, He was saying. There was a quote in there talking to somebody who said to do 50 different versions.
Right.
That's insane. You got to have a lot of traffic to do that. But if you could do 5 or 10 and run that for a month and have good, solid results on that, I think you would dramatically improve your ability to sell with a new headline or new text or new whatever it is.
See, I don't know if I agree with that, though, for a sales page. Like, Google AdWords are pretty different because you can measure, like, all you're measuring is just one click.
Right.
That's a really easy thing to measure. Versus a sales page, if I wrote 5 completely different versions of my sales page, there's so many different things that could be triggering that, and the differences that.
Sure.
There are.
It would be really hard to draw anything meaningful. Like, it could literally just be one headline or one bullet point or the ordering of things on the page.
So stick with the headlines for now, then. Just change the headlines and do 5 or 10 different headlines for the month.
Well, hold on. You're right about it could be just one thing on the page, and it probably is.
Right.
But the way that But if you had, let's say you had 5 different sales pages, right? And you're multivariate testing them. See how I use the new word. And
very nice, John.
And let's say that one of them performed 3 times better than the best performing of the other 4. You wouldn't know why it did,
Right.
But you would be
know that it did.
Such a head start over. I mean, what you're doing now is essentially just picking one, and then changing it. But if you started off by picking the one that was 3 times better than anything else, and then started changing it, it just seems like you get a bigger boost at the start. Now, I'm not an expert in this. This is just my guess, but that's I don't know. That's
I see your point there, John, and I think there's potential for value in doing that, but I think you would need a tremendous amount of traffic to do that, and there's a lot of risk in that, like Josh was saying, because you'll know that this one is getting more traffic, but you won't know why. I think for long-term productivity, maintenance, testing, whatever the right word is, I can't think of off the top of my head. I think testing changes to one thing at a time is going to be a better approach. I mean, my wife is a PhD in psychology. She does statistical analysis. She runs tests like this all the time. It's her job to run tests like this with hundreds of people with one variation at a time in one place in order to be able to control the thing that changed and see what the changes are in responses to this one thing that changed. So it's what she does, it's how she does things. She takes this one script and she changes this one sentence, and she measures the effect of this one sentence. So in Josh's case, if you want to do 10 different versions of your landing page, first I think you should just start with your headlines, like we were saying a second ago. But if you wanted to do 10 different versions of your landing page, pick one thing in the landing page to change, and change that one thing 10 times. Run that for a month, and then pick the next thing based on the winner from that group of changes.
Well, hold on. Just back it up one. All I'm saying do that, but I'm saying before you do that, start with five completely random dogs.
Sure.
I don't know why I use the word dog, but right.
Don and his new words today.
The dog works better with the tail on its head versus and a 3-legged dog, and the one
like my daughter yesterday.
She did a
Mr. Potato Head Man with a hand coming out of its butt because it was a mermaid.
I'm staying out of John's genetic testing lab.
Yeah, I think I said dog because I was thinking of dog races. But anyway, okay, you have your 5 dogs, right? I'm still saying do everything that you guys are saying, but I'm saying before you do it, like test the most wildly different things, and then just pick the best starting point.
Sure.
And then test the one thing. And then the other difference I think that I would say is like, for the cognitive psychology, or for figuring out like changing one thing and then controlling that variable, it's because you want to understand why,
right?
Which maybe you want to know why, but really when you're making a copy, or you might not ever understand why. Why might be just
but you counter to that though, you might be able to take 10 changes to this line, 10 changes to this line, 10 changes to this line, and dramatically increase the overall effectiveness by testing one thing at a time and picking the winner of all of those at each step in the game.
Yeah,
I do like the idea of starting with 5 random things, though, 5 very different things, though, just as a starting point.
I think what I'm going to do is, I don't think I'm going to start with 5. I think I'm going to start with a couple, though, and A/B test them head-to-head, and then pull in another one so I can get faster results.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Versus
too.
like, okay, if I improve my what I'm not going to do is like, okay, I improved my headline, and now I'm getting 400% better click-throughs. Okay, well, that headline's done.
Right. Well,
or the sales page is working now.
Because that's the thing, is like the whole concept could be not as powerful. Like,
right.
I'm trying to think of the analogy here. There's like sometimes I want to somehow put it to like a video game character that stats max out. Let's do that. Okay, so you have like, you're choosing like 5 or 6 classes for a video game character, right? And one class, their stats are just going to max out at, they can only go to level 10. They're capped at level 10, and then their stats max out. And so if you start with that character, you can optimize it and optimize it, and you will eventually max out the stats, but they're capped at 10. Like that whole concept of the flow of the page, or the whole idea itself, or the thought behind it, the real thing is capped. But maybe if you start with like 4 or 5 guys and you pick the biggest, strongest warrior first, right?
Right.
and maybe he caps out at level 99 or whatever. The thing is, like, you'd rather have started with that one, and then you tweaked him till he got all the way up to his max capacity.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is different ideas or different total concepts might have a total max. Like, you can't get better than this, but 2 of them could be of completely different levels. So that's why I think it makes sense to have at least. I mean, it might not be 10, it might not be 5, but even if you just have 2 or 3, then at least you're making sure you're starting with the best dog first.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I agree with what you're saying there.
So is Visual Web Optimizer only a WordPress thing, or does it work anywhere?
No, it works with anything. It's just JavaScript. It's like magic. I love this tool.
Black magic.
You drop a JavaScript snippet on your site.
Right.
In the header, and then you go into Visual Website Optimizer, and you can literally edit your website in their tool.
Yeah,
and then they serve up pieces of so when the page loads, you see just a very brief flicker while it loads like the new headline. You can do anything with it. Like, you can restyle stuff, you can change images, you can shuffle parts of the page around.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. Like, you could rearrange the order of your bullet points if you wanted to. You can edit text, and it's pretty amazing.
Right.
So, and then you just throw that code on your thank you page to measure conversions, which that took me a little fiddling with to get it working, but I think it's working finally now. So
I should probably do something like that with Signalleaf.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Then they have heat maps too, so you can see where people are clicking. So if your goal is to send people to the sign up from your homepage, then you can see where they're actually going, which you can do with Google Analytics and stuff too, but the heat maps make it really easy to visualize.
Yeah.
So I am definitely a fan. This and Lead Pages are so far my favorite tools that I've played.
I've become quite enamored with GetDrip.com recently. Since I started that email course on object-oriented design, I've added 400 and some odd people to my MailChimp mailing list.
Wow, that's nice.
And better than that, I've sent out a few emails since I started that, and I've only had like maybe 20 people unsubscribe.
Nice.
So this is like high quality leads here. Yeah. So 429 people have joined my list this month.
Wow, that's great.
I mean, that's the size of my list when I joined this group.
Yeah.
So I've added that many people just this month.
Are you paying for ads to promote those?
Yeah, I am. I have Twitter ads running, which are doing surprisingly well. I'm in like 3 to 6% for most of the ads that I've got running on this thing.
Engagement rate,
yeah. Let me pull up. So I've had 72 engagements on the card, which means 72 people have clicked that button to sign up through the card, and I've had 2,118 clicks on the tweet, anywhere on the tweet, basically. My highest engagement rate is 6.15%,
nice.
And then 5.2, and then 4.06, and then 3.26, and then 2.9. So I mean, these are doing phenomenally well, and I'm spending $10 a day on it right now.
Dude, up that.
Yeah, I probably should.
Yeah, try it for a day or two and keep an eye on it.
Right.
My numbers just halved, and
I'm going to have to go and redo my tweets anyways. These tweets are a week old, actually a week and a half old. So I got to go in there and tweak this anyway. So I'll up it for a little bit. But I mean, even at $10 a month, honestly, I have not gained any real subscribers to watch me code from that following email at the very end. But I've had one person sign up, but it's a guy I know. from that perspective, it's been kind of miserable, but
Yeah,
adding 429 people to my mailing list this month, that's...
Yeah, see, they're on your list. The longer that they get your emails and don't unsubscribe, they're eventually going to subscribe to Watch Me Code. Like, I mean, the chance of them, they keep on moving closer to being a customer. I think you're warming them up.
Whether it's Watch Me Code or an ebook or something, eventually, you know, that somebody on the people that are on the list will become customers.
Yeah, or this podcast they're listening
to.
Yeah. Like, this is how those scumbags do it. That's exactly. We should sign up because
bunch of marketing jerks trying to treat us like commodities.
Speaking of being a commodity, you guys already know about this, but the SitePoint thing was pretty amazing. So
that's awesome.
For the listeners, so we posted our first episode a couple weeks ago when we're recording this now.
Yep.
And a day or two later, I got contacted by a lady who turned out to be the editor-in-chief of SitePoint.com, which is a big, pretty decently sized website.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. They're like ranked in the top 1,000 websites in the world.
Wow.
Like Lifehacker, I think when I checked was around 300 or 400 in Alexa.com, and SitePoint is like $8.99 or something like that.
Yeah, SitePoint is Google PageRank 7. It's Alexa traffic rank puts it at 869.
Wow.
Which is just ridiculously insane.
Yeah, so they've apparently been looking for an editor for their business channel for quite a while, and she thought I'd be a good fit. So totally out of the blue, she contacted me on Twitter, said, "Hey, I have an interesting project you might want to hear about." So I tweeted back at her, and then we talked this week, and I'm going to be starting in a couple weeks doing.
Heck yeah!
It'll be part-time. Yeah, it'll be part-time, and I'll be looking for other entrepreneurs who are doing interesting things. I think it'll mostly be like articles relevant for freelancers and SaaS apps and that sort of thing. So yeah, that totally out of the.
That's awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like the podcast, she found it. I think she found it through iTunes, and it was like right after we posted it. So yeah,
which would make sense because we were in the new and notable section for like 2 or 3 weeks after this started.
Yep. Yeah. So it was very strange talking to her for the first time though, because she'd already researched me.
Right.
And she knew like all the things I would say to kind of introduce myself. She already knew.
Right.
And I've talked about a lot of stuff on my blog, and and in the podcast. So it was very unsettling. It felt like it was almost like playing tug of war with somebody when they let go of the rope, kind of that sensation.
Right.
This is like, okay, what do I say? But yeah, so that'll be cool. And I'm really looking forward to that. It'll be give me a good chance to make a lot of contacts and make some extra money. So I'm gonna have to cut back a lot of my other stuff to make time for it. But
it's worth doing. I mean, honestly, because this is a thing like that's going to get you. It's so many. You don't know what opportunities you'll get from this. I mean, this is going to get you wide exposure. Yeah. You're going to get. I mean, even if you had to scale back completely on everything else, which you might have to do, really, realistically, it's something that I think that. It's the experience of doing this, of getting those connections, and I mean maybe you change your mind later on and do something else, but to be able to do this for any period of time is going to be huge, I think.
Yeah, they want to start an email newsletter, which is kind of right up my alley.
Yeah.
I mean they've got a couple email newsletters that they're doing now. They have like weekly or bi-weekly newsletters for most of the channels, and the business channels never had a newsletter, so they want to start doing one, so I'm excited about working on that. And it'll be fun because I'll get to write kind of like almost like a column at the top of it. Like they've got the editor of the channel gets to write like a 300, 400, 500 word short little article at the top. And then you have like a bunch of links and stuff under that. But
yeah, it's like the Web Tools Weekly that I contributed to recently. Yep. The guy that does Web Tools Weekly is the editor of the HTML channel on SitePoint. Mm-hmm. So it's very much the same format.
Yeah, this will give me such a great excuse though. I'm gonna have I'm compiling a mental list of all the people I want to reach out to, because I've got.
Don't make it mental, because you'll forget.
Oh yeah.
Write it down somewhere.
I'm gonna start writing it down.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it'll it'll give me a legitimate excuse, something I can offer people that I've wanted to reach out to. So.
Right.
Yeah.
But so that's how you market yourself as a software developer, folks.
That's right. You get a podcast.
You got to get yourself out there. It's like I'm going to write an email to my list this weekend about this, and just to tell a story. There's a funny story I heard over the winter. Somewhere out west, I think it might have been in California or somewhere where they don't get a lot of snow. They got a huge snowfall this year, and at a college, a bunch of students thought it would be fun to make a snowball, so they went up on the hill and they started pushing a snowball around. Well, it got pretty big, and then it got away from them, and it rolled down the hill and smashed through the walls of one of the dorms.
What?
So that's kind of what this stuff is like on the web. When you start to get exposure, you don't know when it's going to take off.
Yeah.
Like I've kind of been I've been frustrated. Sometimes it feels like you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
But you keep your head down, you keep pushing, and then you get a breakthrough. And it's like, and then it's like, it's the 80-20 thing. It's a 10x. When it happens, it's a 10x. Like, it's not incremental growth. If you focus on incremental growth, you'll get some of it, but where things really happen is when you get those, those big breakthroughs.
Right.
Yeah.
These opportunities that keep coming around, they don't come because we're sitting back waiting for them. They come because we're out there every day doing the work and creating the situation, the circumstances in which these opportunities can come around.
Yeah. If you want to be an arson, you got to sneak into a lot of places and light a lot of fires.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Don't be an arsonist.
Colorful metaphors. You got to start it.
Wow, John.
His metaphors are always so specific.
Yes. I'm impressed.
No, but you're right. I mean, that's the thing is, that's and I think all the success that I've ever had is just because doing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I mean, every week I've got blog posts, podcasts, YouTube videos, all kinds of stuff, newsletter, and some of those things spark really big fires. I've gotten some really big. I just got a really big client. that I'm gonna be doing some consulting for that. Came across from one of the avenues. It's like the multiple channels that you have. The more stuff you have, all it takes is one big thing that's gonna be like you said, the 10x thing. So
right.
Yeah. That's
I'm still waiting for Signalleaf to turn into my 10x, but but I actually had some good progress on that this week. I got MP4, so M4A file support done and published on there. I did that specifically because I have a new podcast, the CocoaConf podcast, which is all about iOS and OS X development.
Yeah.
So they're on Signalleaf now, and they got their podcast launched and up and running this week, and they wanted to upload M4A files, so I got that done. Turned out I had like 99% of the code already finished. And when I pulled that branch back into my main development line, it was like, oh, hey, this already works. Let me see if I missed anything. Oh, there's the one thing I missed. Okay, done. So that turned out to be pretty cool. And then I got a couple of other tweaks made to the layout of some of the pages just to make it easier to deal with finding the actions you can take for podcasts or episodes to be able to edit things. So that was good for me. It had been a long time since I had done anything on Signalleaf.
Yeah.
And I need to continue working on that. What I really need to do with that is to get the blog moved over to WordPress, though, because it's been like a month or more since I've blogged on there. And the one and only reason is because it's so dang tedious to write blog posts in Markdown and manually put the images in place and everything else. So going from I hate WordPress a few months ago to
I know, I almost fell over when I heard you say I got to migrate this to WordPress.
Yeah.
I've done the same thing, Derick. I had played with like Jekyll and some of those frameworks, which are very cool. I really love the idea. Right. Compile your, but then it was like, it was a pain. It was just.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
you gotta do the easiest thing.
Right.
Oh, speaking of which, before I forget, all right, we gotta have the conversation about podcast recorder because
yeah,
I feel bad. I think I need to refund everyone's money
Yeah,
at this point.
honestly,
I think
Because I
that
feel
would be a
bad
good
holding on
idea.
to the money. Like I
Yeah.
still want to do this. Like this
Right,
is a
Yes.
good idea. But I don't want to hang on to people's
Right.
money.
right.
Why don't we refund them and tell them that they can still keep the
Yeah,
free, still
Right.
keep what they paid for.
exactly.
They'll keep the early access because we are
Yeah.
going to do this.
Yeah.
I think we really should think about outsourcing this though, at least for the initial version of it, because I mean, Josh has this new thing with SitePoint. I've got 2 contracts with Prog. Well, one really, because one of them is just for the ebook distribution. But I've got. I mean, I need to get Watch Me Code finished for the next few months. I need to get Prog screencast recorded for Backbone. I got my client that needs work. I mean, I don't have time to add podcast recorder at this point. We really need to consider outsourcing it, or maybe John, maybe this is your next thing after you get the book done.
Yeah, it could be. To be honest, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards the outsourcing right now, just because, like this week, I had one of those weeks where I was like, maybe I should. I think I'm leaving the internet permanently.
Yeah.
I think I've got enough real estate. I could live like on a beach somewhere, and I think I'm leaving the internet.
Yeah.
I'm tired of all this. So I don't know.
I had a friend and former coworker, former Trackabout employee actually, who I contacted this week for various reasons, and he got back to me. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm still doing this stuff, but my main source of income now is the farm that I now have and the locally grown stuff that I'm producing." And it's like,
Oh my gosh.
whoa, where did that come from? But at the same time, really awesome, because I mean, this can be a total rat race drain on everything. I mean, it's at the point now where I don't even consider technology and development to be the main thing that I do anymore. The real focus of my career is helping other developers be better developers.
Exactly, yeah.
And I happen to do that by writing code and building open source projects and all that. But without a focus larger and more important than just writing code, it just turns into a monotonous downhill rat race while you're trying to prevent your job from being outsourced to a $10 an hour person somewhere.
Yeah, so we should outsource this.
Let's contribute to the outsourcing problem.
Exactly. Let's contribute to the problem that I just...
Yeah, I was just thinking, well, I guess what I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously going to finish my book.
Right.
I'm obviously need to get my sales funnel, the how to market yourself course in place. But I may take a 1 year hiatus of do nothing for 1 year.
That would drive me nuts.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know how long, but basically, no blog posts, none of just. I don't know. I've considered it. It's not that I don't enjoy what I'm doing, but I don't all the time, and it's like I've been kind of going at full speed for years now. I've been going at the speed which I didn't think that I could maintain for a month. For years,
right?
And that gets draining. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, after I'm done with the book, I am spending a couple months in Hawaii, and I'm supposed to be taking a vacation there, but I'm still planning on doing blog posts and YouTube videos and that, but no other stuff.
Right.
So I'll have to see how my mindset is after that. Because what I don't want to do is essentially work and try to make money for the purpose of working and trying to make money. At some point, I'm either going to say, okay, I've made enough money, I can retire. I'll use quotes retire because it means pursue interests that have no marketing or no money making.
Right.
If they make money, fine, who cares? But I'm just doing what I want to do, type of thing, or it's or you're trying to get to the next level of so I don't know. So I know that at some point that I'll either reach that, or I'm just liking what I'm doing so much that it doesn't matter. I mean, I guess there's two ways of getting there, but what I don't want to do is like work and try to make money because I feel like I need to make the score higher. Mm-hmm. Whereas you might be happier just living on a mediocre type of income and being able to be more free to do what you want, which kind of sounds weird coming from me because I'm kind of free to do what I want, but you know, you still have obligations, right? You know, I write a blog post every week. You guys have the same kind of like we do these things that we don't always feel like doing. We don't just go off and because you have to have consistency in order to actually produce.
Everything that we do eventually becomes doing the dishes. Everybody has to do the dishes now and then, and no matter what job you're in. If you're employed by someone, if you're self-employed, whatever the case is, I mean, the thing that you're passionate about today, if that turns into your job, eventually you might hate it because it becomes your job instead of your passion. Yeah. So there's a lot of balance that you have to find there, and a lot of what am I willing to live with that you have to figure out in terms of the things you do and don't like.
Right. And what is enough? Like this is one of the things I've been kind of examining in my life is like if I made so much money, where would be the point where I'd be like, okay, stop making money? Like, it's kind of weird because it's like, what would be the point where you would stop pursuing things for the primary purpose of making money? You know, we pick our vocations because we have a passion for them. But honestly, if no one paid us, we wouldn't. Like we'd do something else, right? Because so there's like, what is that number, or what do you have to reach in order for you to say, okay, well, I'm exiting this money making mode, and I'm going into this new mode. And so I've been kind of trying to figure that out for myself. Is like, why push so hard? Why keep on? You have to have some kind of goal, and then when you reach that, then you have to back off and say, otherwise you're going to work until you're 60, 70 years old, and you might have like a big vault like Scrooge McDuck that you could dive in and swim in the money, but what is the point of that, right? Like it doesn't make any sense, So I guess that's kind of where I'm. Like, where is that number? So
honestly, like, I mean, we send around our monthly kind of income reports, and I've kind of wondered that quite about you, John. Like, kind of like, what is, what's your point? Like, have you really thought? I mean, have you made much progress on that? Like, I mean, because personally, if I was in your shoes, I'd be like, okay, time to retire, basically, or at least do sort of the mini retirement thing.
If that income that John has been making is steady, then I'd be scaling back on a lot of the things that you're doing. I guess for me, it's a question of at what point do these things become stable income, where I can put a little bit of time and effort on maintenance. Which is really what I'm hoping for with Signalleaf. I want Signalleaf to become something long-term, something maintainable, where I can put in the time I need when I need to and not have to worry about income. With Watch Me Code, I have to produce content. If I'm not producing content, I'm not selling subscriptions because content is getting out of date and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of value, immediate value in something like Watch Me Code because it allows me to scale back other things while I am doing this. But eventually, I'd like to be able to make $100,000, $150,000 a year without having to work 20 or 30 hours a week. And I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people listening to this because they're thinking, man, I make 80 working 50 to 60 hours a week, or make 60 or whatever it is. And I've been there. I've done that. I've put in those hours for that kind of pay, and I'm happy that I've been able to grow myself and my business and my opportunities beyond that point. I do at some point want to get to the point where I can say, okay, let's go to Hawaii for a month, and I'll check email and do these things on this schedule, but it's going to be minimal and maintenance mode.
And I mean, I guess technically, well, I mean, I'm at that phase, right? Because
Right.
like I mean, just like from a real estate perspective alone, like I'll pull back the curtain here, right? So if I were to just like quit everything, right? I would pull in about $5,000 to $6,000 every month profit on real
Right.
estate, doing nothing, just profit coming in with basically no maintenance, nothing I would have to do, just answer an email or two a month. So that's probably, I mean, that's definitely enough to live off of. With the Pluralsight royalties, like, I mean, obviously that changes over time, but they've only been growing. I've never gotten a royalty check that's lesser than, and you know, each check is at least a full year's salary worth. So
Wow.
I could basically project out at least 10 years worth of I'm fine, you know, making plenty of money from the Pluralsight. So
Right.
so technically I'm there. So that's where it's so you know, to answer Josh's question, like, what am I doing? Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. One is kind of the obligation. Like, part of the reason why I do what I do, you know, I know we talk about the marketing aspect and all that a lot, but is to help people. And
Right.
that's the thing, is like, I kind of feel like a responsibility and obligation, you know, of people that are following my blog, the podcast, and things like that, to keep on producing the content, to keep on helping them out, to keep on getting more and more people to kind of go down the road that we've all gone,
Right.
if they want to go down that road. And so that's kind of a part of it. But with that comes weight. So it's kind of stressful, because it's like, if I disappeared from the internet, I would be kind of abandoning that. And then the other part of it, I think, really is the potential. I hate to leave untapped potential. Like, I feel like with my blog and the things that I'm doing, it's not necessarily, oh, I need X amount of more dollars. It's that there's X amount of dollars left on the table. Like, I haven't built the right sales funnel. I haven't really capitalized on this. I spent a lot of time building this empire, so to speak, and it's kind of like, I kind of have to hit the point where it's making the cash flow that it should be making before I exit it, if I were or before I take a break, or before I, you know, spin down to 10 hours or 20 hours a week.
Right.
And I haven't quite hit that point yet. It's like, part of it is I got to get the book done. Part of it is I need to, like, fix the things with the sales funnel and add a couple more products in there, and then that thing's kind of going. It kind of just, it seems like, yeah, I could walk away from it all now, and I could say, okay, I can just do whatever I want. But then I feel like, I spent all this time building this thing, and then I didn't put the final drawbridge in so people could actually get into the castle.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. Yeah, I think you're right. Like that, you definitely would be walking away from. I mean, you've got a lot of potential energy there.
Yeah.
You've only converted a very small amount of it to actual motion.
Right.
So
yeah, so I mean, it's weird. It's not all about the money for me. I mean, there's definitely an aspect to it. I do enjoy a lot of the entrepreneurial stuff that we do, because that's the fun part, right? That's like when you make that sale, when you get that thing. But
when I had my first people signing up for that email course, I mean, I'm not even charging for that, but it was like, yeah. I mean, I've got 470 people on that thing right now. I mean, that's like astounding to me. I can't believe that many people wanted to be on that list, but.
But at some point, you got to figure. I mean, we all got to figure out when is enough.
Right.
Like, what is the point? Because sometimes, you know, the work does. It's soul crushing. Sometimes it's like, man, I got to do so much. Like, I start the weekend, I'm like, man, I got to do this and this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And it's like, and why am I doing this? Because I already hit my finish line, man. Like, I don't need to do this. There's no boss. There's no one. It's only me with the whip whacking myself in the back. It's like, why am I doing it? At some point, you got to say, well, you know, I'm going to reach something, or I'm going to do something, and then I'm going to lay off myself and say, okay, take a chill, you know, whatever. You don't have to feel pressured to do it, but I don't know. We all got to figure out where that point is. Otherwise, we're just running ourselves ragged for no reason except to have a high score, which is just silly. So.
Yeah, like for me, I think I don't think I'm ever going to get to the point where I actually retire or quit working. Like, I think what I've found, just kind of experimenting with like PTO and stuff, and like playing with my schedule. What I really, really like is I like getting up early and then getting in 3, 4, 5 solid hours of work.
Yeah.
And calling it a day and spending some time with my family. Like that's for me. That is because if I just get up like the best way I've found to ruin a day is to sleep in until 9, and then kind of roll out of bed, not shower till 11:30.
Yeah.
Eat lunch at like 2 o'clock. Like that is just I'm absolutely miserable. I'm grumpy.
Well. Here's an interesting experiment, because I kind of got to this point where, like, let's say that, take exactly what you said, now take the money out of it totally. So let's say you have $50 million sitting in the bank.
Right.
Now, what do? I mean, you still might work for 4 hours, but it won't really be working. It might be painting. It might be, you know what I mean? I don't know what it might be. It might be, quote, working, like, but whatever it is, it's going to be a totally different form of work than how you envision work now, because it's going to be not based on an end goal of making money, but an end goal on whatever fill in the blank other non-monetary reward, which most people really can't conceptualize until they hit the point where, yes, they have, I still can't fully conceptualize it, but I'm getting closer to it, and it's kind of scaring me, because I'm like, well, what the hell is the other thing? Because I spent so much time, I mean, most of us don't even realize how much of our time and focus on our careers and all the things that we do are really geared towards this idea of either making money or security, which we kind of put together in the same thing. But if you had security, if you had money, if you had security, then what the heck would be the reward? Like, what would be the goal, the motivator? And that, it's scary. I mean, it really is scary. Like, because you're like, well, man, even if you said, oh, I'd just like to relax and sit on the beach. Yeah, but you wouldn't do that forever, right? You have to have some other thing, and so I don't know the answer to that. I feel like, from where I'm sitting right now, I feel like I still will want to do things that make money. Because I will still want to continue to I think my motivator will be to continue to try to perfect whatever path I'm in terms of skills, and working to get better at those, and kind of measuring myself that way. But I mean, honestly, like money for me, beyond a certain point, I'm planning to just kind of give most of it away. But I mean, and that can be your motivation. Like, that's true. That you're making a huge difference when you've got money pouring in, and you can just give that away to causes that you support. So well, and that is one. I mean, that is a true motivator, and that is actually one of the motivators that I use now. Is ever since, I don't know how long ago, but it's been a long time. Me and my wife have given away 10% of our income, every month to charity. We still do it, and that number grows and grows. And then it's like, well, as I make more, then that becomes a bigger number, which is a great, and I think there's a, I think there's a reason. I think when you do that, it comes back to you as well. So, But that is a motivator for certain.
This was interesting and totally unexpected.
Yeah, it's got me thinking. I mean, I look at my dad, for example, and my dad is not quite 60, and he is still reinventing himself, and still going down these entrepreneurial paths, and it's kind of scary for him, because he's getting close to retirement age, but at the same time, he's having the time of his life. He's got an amazing setup with a couple of different businesses where he is essentially in charge of the entrepreneurial side of a very large business. And it's a really cool situation for him. It's exactly what he wants to be doing. And he left a job that he had, an entrepreneurial job, a startup job, that he had been with for like 5 or 6 years, in order to do this, because he realized, the job that he had was not the job that he wanted. He was going around telling all these kids in college and all these classes that he was speaking at, do the thing, figure out what you want to do with your life, and then start doing it. Yeah. Is this just a job to get you to the point where you can do that, or is this part of your career and your life and your mission? And he realized, he was not doing the thing that he was preaching. So he very, very rapidly fixed that and put himself into a position where he is now doing the thing that he wants to do with his life. And he's almost 60, and it's so I look at my dad and I think, man, there's so many things that I could do in my life and that I want to do. I want to invest in restaurants. I love the idea of owning part of a restaurant, and I've met some people in town recently that are doing exactly that. They own a restaurant and they've invested in another, and there's those kinds of things. And I want to be involved in helping people, helping developers, and helping with a lot of the problems that we have in the technology community from a lot of different aspects. I want to give to these organizations that help the disenfranchised people in technology, and I want to give more to charity, and I want to do all these things, and so I start doing them. It's I give small amounts here and there whenever I remember to and whenever I can. There's various causes that call me up on a regular basis because they know that I'm going to donate to them. Completely unrelated to technology. They're local and national things that I donate to, and it's important for me to do that because it makes me feel like I'm giving back to the communities that may not have been supporting me in the past but may support me in the future. People and causes and things that help other people that need help, and it's making me think a lot about that kind of stuff, about what's the point, where is that point for me? When will I say, okay, now I'm going to and start doing something different? And I think, for me at least, it's not, there isn't so much a tipping point as there is a migration. I mean, I look at my entire career, and my whole career has been, what am I doing next? What am I doing next? What am I doing next? I'm always looking at what my next thing is and moving myself into that role and that position with every job and every position I've ever had.
Yeah.
That's just how I am.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Me too. Like, it's very hard for me to even even in moment to moment to just not be thinking about something else that I should be think I should be doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
I'm just I can't turn it off. I'm just wired that way.
Right.
And here's the weird thing though. If you take money out of the equation, if you had $50 million sitting in the bank, all of a sudden that turns off, and then that's what's scary. I'm telling you, like, it's hard to imagine, but like I've had to force myself to go through this because I'm sort of in that. I don't have $50 million in the bank, but I like I said, I could just exit and I'd be fine. And so I have to think about that now, and it is scary because what motivates you? And that's that's why it's important. I think, like you were saying, Derick, about figuring out what you want to do. Is I always give the advice to like young kids, college students, or whatever. Like, pick the thing that's going to make you the most money as possible, and work hard early to make as much money as possible, so that you can do what you actually want to do. Right. Because no matter what, like, the money is always going to get in the way. It's going to as long as you have to do something in order to earn money, it is going to become work. It's going to become a job, and it's going to influence the way that you do things. I mean, a lot of the content that even we produce. I mean, I'll admit that even I produce. It's not up to the standard that I would have produced if there wasn't a deadline, if there wasn't time behind it in order to make money. You see what I'm saying? Like, if we're just like, this was my art, I might spend 3 years doing a thing that takes me 2 months, but it's not my art because there's that. It's always hanging over you, and so that's why it's I don't know. It's an interesting thing to consider if you get the time to just think about what would you do if you had $50 million in the bank right now, and how would that after you took a year and you did all the the fun stuff you wanted to do and whatever. Right. After that, then what would you do?
See, for me, I've always been like, I've been lucky because I've been able to find a way to harness this to make money. But for me, I cannot stop learning.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, I think that's what would keep me going. Like, even if I had all the money that I wanted, that I could ever possibly want, I think I would still want to keep learning, and I would still want to try to find ways to turn that into income, because it's kind of a game with me. And this is what I'm really loving about the stuff that we've gotten into here with some of the marketing stuff, because I can use that to teach I can take things that I want to learn and forever find ways to learn, basically generate income from learning.
Right.
And I don't really see that going away. Maybe I don't know, maybe it would, but I mean, I've definitely have gotten into. I listed out for that. Derick had sent me an email from one of his subscribers, and I went through like the last 30 years of my life and listed out things that I've gotten interested in.
Yeah.
And
it was like 50 things in that list.
And that wasn't even all inclusive. I thought of other things after I sent that. It was like 50 different random things, and I'll get really into something for a few months, kind of master it to a certain level. This is kind of what's really interesting to me about Tim Ferriss. Like, this is his thing. Like, he loves to learn new skills, get to a certain level of mastery, and then teach about what he's learned. And I don't know. I could see myself doing that for forever. Honestly, I don't really think.
Well, that's John's entire Pluralsight catalog. I mean, as rude or harsh as that sounds, it's true. It's you learned all of these things well enough to teach somebody else the basics, and you're doing really well from that. And I've met a few people that have, one person in particular that very specifically complained about you, John, and said that what you did was wrong, and had a whole bunch of words about that. And I disagree with that person. I think it takes a phenomenal amount of talent to be able to learn something fast enough to teach people like that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. Yeah, of course, there's going to be things that you could have done better and could have shown better and always improved upon. But that's life. That's development. I look at the code I wrote yesterday, and I go, what the crap was I thinking? So why should I wait 15 years to tell you about the code that I wrote yesterday if I know that tomorrow I'm going to hate it anyways?
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, like what I have to say about that too is it's like, yeah, I could spend months on a single course, and then I could have 5 courses instead of 55. But how many more people have I benefited by having 55 courses, on topics like, because there's when you go, not to toot my horn, but when you go on the Pluralsight and you look at my courses, they're all rated like 4.5 to 5 stars. Like, and people are learning, and they're liking the courses. So it's like, I'd rather, every time I write a blog post, the same thing goes through my mind. It's like, well, I could spend 10 hours writing this blog post. I seriously could. I could do more research. I could revise it and write it better and put my highest quality work into this, or I could ship the thing I did in 2 hours and do 5 blog posts, right? Instead of one every 2 months. Right. And that's the thing, is it's like, I think there's this, it's the 80-20 rule, I suppose.
Yeah, it really is.
You've got to do that, but I don't know. We spun off from there, from the learning topic.
Yeah.
But I agree about the learning. I mean, that's one of the things that really interested me about doing the Pluralsight was I like learning, and just learning is something that I would continually do, regardless of being paid for it. But that's one of the things. Like if I were to exit and leave the internet, quote, leave the internet, I would be probably learning, just for the fun of learning. So. Yeah.
Well, and I think the way that we're wired, there's no way that you could stop yourself from turning that into a business.
Yeah. But see, and that's the thing, is like I have this thing in the back of my head that says there's like this evolution of stages, right? It's like you're working for someone else, like you're getting a paycheck, you find entrepreneurial type of things. You're still, or maybe you're freelancing, but you're working for clients, and then you're developing your own product, more entrepreneurial type of stuff, but you're still doing what the market is demanding of you. Mm-hmm. But then you hit this point where you hit that jumping off point where it is, the money doesn't matter anymore, and you start doing things that you like, because you like them, and not based on any kind of rules of economics or anything. And I think that's where, and maybe I'm totally wrong, but I think that's where you hit it super big. That's where you make the mega bucks, is because you no longer have any of the pressure. You're doing completely driven by your own, internal instinct of what needs to be done, not for any purpose. You don't have any goal in mind, and that's where, like that, a lot of the big things that have happened, I think, come from people's like true, some of these people, their passions, it was because they're just dumb and they didn't care about money because they just had no common sense, but then it blew up into this big thing. And some of them were people that had retired and then created something. But I kind of that's always my thing, is I've always thought that that's where you find the real huge, like 10-fold, 20-fold success, is after that point where you've stopped caring about money and you're just like doing something for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, that's probably true. There's probably also a lot of people that also fail at that, though.
There's a lot of people that don't have that intrinsic motivation either. For some people, for whatever percentage of the people it is, it's all extrinsic, all external motivation factors that keep them moving day to day. I mean, I've known a lot of people that do not care what their job is, as long as they are paid well and they are told what to do. They will just go about doing that job because that's what brings them the money, and then they go and watch sports or play video games or whatever it is on nights and weekends, and that's it. That's their life, and they like it that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think for us, I think you pretty much just described all three of us, John. That's definitely us. I want to go do things for the sake of doing things, and I want to get good at those things for the sake of getting good at those things. That is the definition of intrinsic motivation, and that is us. And
see, that's where people make the mistake, I think, is that they have that kind of mindset, like you said, like us, but they want it now.
Right.
So they say, well, I really enjoy doing this thing, so I'm going to do this thing, and they don't care about the economics of it. And that's why I think, some people, I think they listen to us and they're like, why are these guys always focusing on the economics of it? And because economics of it is the thing that buys you the freedom that lets you then do what you actually really want to do, which we all have. So but there's so many people that are like, oh, they try to take the shortcut, and it's kind of, to some degree, the guy that doesn't care about his job and is watching sports and TV and playing video games is doing that. He's like he's accepting a mediocre version of what his life could be in 4 hours a day or 2 hours a day of being able to do what he kind of wants to do in order to have that now, instead of working hard and like busting the butt, that you have to do as an entrepreneur to be able to buy that later in its full version. You're getting the cheap version now, sure, but the big picture version of it is the true actual freedom to really do what you want to. Really, if you want to just dive into, you want to create a restaurant or you want to become an artist, like, you could totally do that, but you have to, you got to pay your dues to get to there, and it's not an easy, and you can't take shortcuts, and you can't start, you can't have a life balance. It has to be, you got to pay the dues, and then you can get there, or you got to be born into wealth, I suppose. But
I've seen enough TED Talks of people that were born into wealth to want to punch people in the face. There's this one that continuously stands out in my mind where this guy talks about starting this wine blog, and how he on his own at night and on the weekends spent his $180,000 that he had in his bank account to do this. It was like, screw you, guy. You've got this job that's giving you all this money. Your parents gave you $200,000 as a graduation present or whatever it is. You're telling people to quit their jobs and do what they love? You have no idea how to be poor and how to bootstrap yourself from nothing into a job like that. I mean, even us, I don't know about you guys, but I was born into a pretty dang poor family. I think I have a lot of the white male privilege going for me, which is a whole separate subject and giant ball of wax, but I believe that's true. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities that I've been given and have been able to take advantage of to work to where I am. But at the same time, I recognize that not everybody's going to be able to do the things that I did, and not everybody's going to be as lucky as I did and have these opportunities, and it's going to be a hell of a lot of hard work for a lot more people than not. It's a difficult thing to do, and people like that dude on TED just make me want to punch them in the face because they have no idea what reality is.
I think I know who that dude is. He's a famous social media person. But
yeah, it probably that one video just.
Well, there is something that I've been thinking about along those lines, which is kind of interesting. Is aristocracy that isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, in that case, yeah, like telling people like having a huge amount of money and privilege and then telling people to follow in your footsteps without the,
right.
to climb the gorge without the rope, that's kind of ridiculous, and it's sending people to their deaths.
Yeah.
But there is something, like I was thinking, like for my daughter, I was like, does she really need to learn how to, I mean, if I'm able to reach a certain point financially, I don't know if I will be, but if I am, does she actually need to learn how to make money and to do this kind of crappy drudge work kind of crap that you have to go through? Or would it be better to just say, hey, look, you know what, you got the privilege of to go into the arts, become a dancer, artist, painter, musician, one of those things where you're not going to make money, but you're contributing to society in another way, or go in missions and help people. Right. And like, I don't even want you to even look at a checkbook because you can be at a higher stage of life. I mean, where you look at the Renaissance period and like a lot of, it's like, and from our perspective now, we look at those people and we kind of say, oh, spoiled little whatever. But wouldn't it be better if everyone if the whole world could live at that level? If we could all, like all of our basic needs, we could all have iPads and houses and cars and plenty to eat, and no one had to work to produce any of that, and we could all just pursue passions and have philosophical debates and produce art, right? Like that's the ideal. It's just we have jealousy that makes us think that that's not the ideal. So there's kind of that aspect of it, right? I mean, there's that.
So that's I think we talked about this before, John. That's kind of Stephen Pressfield's idea of like, once you reach a certain point of evolution, you can kind of stand on the shoulders of the previous generation.
Right.
I strongly disagree with that, actually.
I do to a point.
We have two sons right now, and even if I were to get fabulously wealthy doing all this stuff, they're not seeing. I'm going to try to set them up so that they are not at a financial disadvantage to start their lives. They're not starting their lives with $100,000 in college debt, for instance. But they're not seeing a penny of that money until they have proved that they can handle it.
Right.
And that is probably when they're, midlife, and they have made it on their own. Because I think that you need to go through a lot of the things that we're going through to be able to handle. I mean, it's just like it's like kids who graduate high school, fall into an NBA contract, and destroy their lives by the time they're 25. They haven't developed. You can't, like, sudden wealth is not something that most people are equipped to handle.
And you said it yourself, John, a number of times that you would rather work for that first $1,000 than be given that first $1,000, because the act of working for it and knowing what it takes to earn it makes it that much more valuable, and also gives you the skills that you need to make your second $1,000.
And I totally agree with that. If your end goal is to become a person who can make money in life and manage money,
I don't want kids that will waste whatever fortune I have been able to get.
Totally agree with that. Like that's, I think there's a balance. I think because what you described, Josh, that was exactly how I thought. I mean, even just a year ago, I thought exactly that way. But lately, I've been changing my mind and thinking that, obviously, the squandering of the wealth, like, you still have to teach. Like, can you teach the kind of principles that would prevent a person from squandering wealth and appreciating what they have without the road of putting them into the work mode and the workforce mode, like, and not everyone will be able to do that. But because what got me thinking about it was, I said, well, at some point I want to exit. I don't want to like I spend so much of my energy cranking this wheel, to some degree, a large portion of my life is waste when I think about it, because learning how to crank the wheel and cranking the wheel and all that only got me to a point where I could now become a painter, let's say, or a musician, right? If I could have started with that, if I didn't have the privilege of doing that, but if I could have had that privilege, then I wouldn't have wasted time. Then the wheel cranking skill becomes totally useless, because who cares about cranking the wheel? If you're a musician, you don't need to. So, I mean, along the lines, like you said, I learned how to respect money and to work hard and to do those things. But I didn't necessarily have to learn those lessons by learning how to crank the wheel and cranking the wheel. And so that's, I'm not 100% sold on anything that I'm saying right now.
Sure.
but I think there is some value to saying, like the Stephen Pressfield thing. That's what kind of got me, even opened up the branch for me to think along that line, is like, if you reach a certain level shouldn't we aspire for more people to be artists and painters and not to ever even know what the rat race is? I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm pondering right now. Tirade over.
This has certainly been an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Lots of interesting things to think about.
Yeah. Well, okay. Bring us back to. Oh,
so yeah, bring it back down to more actionable things.
Yeah.
I had my first complaint of fraudulent charges today.
Oh no!
Nice. For a recurring billing.
Yeah, so dude emailed me. He replied to your Watch Me Code subscription has been renewed, saying, "What is this? I never signed up for it." So I looked, and his email address was in Watch Me Code. He had a customer account in Stripe. It had his credit card in there. I sent him the details that I had, and he said, "Yeah, that's my email, that's my name, that's my credit card number. I never signed up for this." So, I mean, of course, I give the dude a refund immediately. He had 2 charges on there for $14 each for 2 months. So I refunded both of the months of charges. Made sure that Stripe didn't have his credit card saved anymore. Canceled his Watch Me Code account and everything. But it's kind of scary.
Was he a programmer?
I don't know. I have no idea.
You should Google his email address and name, just out of curiosity, because he might be schizophrenic or something. I don't know. It's
possible, but whatever the case is, I'm glad the guy was nice about it, first of all, and I took care of it right away, because if I were in his shoes and found that happening, it would freak me out, and I would want the person on the other end of the service to do exactly what I did.
I'm trying to think, if you steal a credit card number and you sign up for a $9 a month Watch Me Code subscription, what the heck are you thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, quite honestly, but I mean, what am I going to do about it?
That's weird. You should send out a mass mail and say, whoever signed up via the stolen credit card, I'm going to give you a free year of Watch Me Code, because you obviously need some help here.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever the case is, that was my interesting morning.
So I had a phenomenal month on sales on how to market yourself. I guess we're at the end of the month.
Oh yeah, we are.
My DPD dashboard is sitting at 11,500 for sales.
Nice. You had a lot going on this month too.
Yeah, I had a lot going on. I was averaging about close to 2 sales a day for the most part.
Right.
So.
That's awesome.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So Watch Me Code. I'm looking at my report now. I'm sitting at 22.59 for earnings on Watch Me Code. I pulled in about 6,600 for consulting, and see, Lean Pub. Lean Pub is, I will bring in 1,400. My next royalty payment is 1,400. I think I've sold $600 worth this month, which is pretty low for my book sales, but I'm expecting that to bump once I get the Pragprog contract and they start distributing it.
Yeah.
So I'll have additional income from them on that, which will be pretty awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't checked my numbers this week. I think I'm gonna probably come in around. Well, in terms of actual earnings, like everything's down for me this month.
Right.
It's been kind of a rough month. So I'm hoping I'm hitting the spring, late spring, early summer lull here, and that this is not gonna be. I mean, everything's been down. My Desk Hacks site, I'll probably make about $200 from that. I was making like almost $600 to $700 for a while there.
Right.
So that's down. My book sales have been better than they were last month, but still not all that great. So yeah, I don't know. It's a little discouraging, but
yeah, I think I'm gonna pull in 9,000 this month, which would be pretty dang awesome. That's definitely more than I need, and it's getting close to my target. And I'm hoping that Watch Me Code continues to grow. So that sponsorship that I emailed you guys about earlier, he got back to me again and gave me a larger discount. So I'm going to do that
nice.
Sponsorship.
Good.
So that'll be pretty awesome. And then if that works out, which I think it will, given the way that he does that sponsorship, then I'll probably take him up on a second week at the full price.
Nice.
I'm also continuing my JavaScript Jabber sponsorship for the month of June. I've got 2 episodes of Dev Hell podcast that are going to be coming out in the month of June with my sponsorship. The Web Tools weekly thing is done, but the guy has asked me to do some additional tips so that he can take some weeks off again. And so I'm going to write some of those up sometime soon and include those discount codes again. So there's potential for Watch Me Code to continue to grow, and I think the screencasts that I started recording today are going to be a lot more interest to more people. So I'm hoping that just the content itself will start selling.
What are you doing?
So I did 3 episodes this morning, 2 of them continuing testing with Jasmine. I previously shown testing Node.js code with Jasmine, and so this morning I recorded 2 episodes on testing browser code with Jasmine using Node.js tools. And then I also started recording Browserify. So I've got 1 episode of Browserify recorded, and I've got 4 more Browserify episodes lined up, and I have a total of 12 more episodes outlined that I'm going to be recording for Watch Me Code over the next 3 weeks.
Nice. Yeah, I figured out. So for my next goal here, I'm gonna keep testing my page, my sales page, and everything. But I need to find a way to piece together enough email signups. I need to get about 200 a month. I think.
Yeah,
it's my goal. Sorry, 200 a week. 200
a week.
Yeah. Because I'm still doing the daily emails thing, and that has been going. I think that's been helping. I figured out my unsubscribes have kind of fallen off to the point where I'm averaging I'm losing maybe 100 a week.
Right.
So to make up for that, it's kind of like a burn, Like I need to get up to at least 100.
Gotcha.
I currently get like 25 to 30 a week just from my pop-ups on my blog. So if I can figure out a way to piece together enough traffic sources to get, to 100 plus, I'll start to gain some good ground.
Right.
So that's kind of my next goal. I think I actually, now that I'm in with SitePoint, I might. I don't know if they've done anything on Sublime, but they definitely have done some stuff on like brackets and some other editors. So I know for sure I could probably do a couple articles for them on Sublime stuff. I'd pitched the Sublime team on doing a joint promotion, but they're not doing any promotions until Sublime 3 comes out this summer. So hopefully this summer.
Well, and I was thinking about that a little bit too. I guess part of it, like, it didn't occur to me till after you said the little "I'm rejected" thing, and then I thought how similar that picture looked to that guy's face from that California shooting. But anyway, you really weren't offering them anything, right? Because
actually, I was though, because it was going to be. I mean, like all of the tweets that were going to be going out were not for me. They were actually for their product and mentioning their Twitter account, not mine.
Right, but they would be tweeting it. I
was going to be tweeting it too.
Well, yeah, but you're asking. Yeah. I mean, essentially, like their participation would be either throwing in a few licenses, which big deal. That's like minimal amount of money, or helping you by tweeting it as well, right?
Right.
So if they tweet it as well, it really does no benefit to them because they could just tweet, buy Sublime Text, it's awesome. You see what I'm saying? So I think that was the one. That was the thing. Like I didn't piece that together until you had sent that email.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, wait a minute, that makes sense. They're not going to care about that.
That's kind of true, but it's also like an unusual way. Like if they just tweet Sublime Text or buy Sublime Text, that's not going to go viral. The way that I structured this, it would go viral.
But
and they could do it themselves, I guess. Yeah, they could totally do it themselves. But if I started it and they retweeted it, I think it would have a lot more, it would potentially have more reach. I don't know.
But they could have someone start I guess what I'm saying is they could give away licenses and make it like you weren't offering them anything that they didn't have.
Anything they couldn't do themselves.
Yeah, so that's the only thing. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just trying to say.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That was kind of like the point of why I emailed you guys. I was trying to come up with a way to make it something that would help them, and I think it did. But you're right; it's not something they couldn't necessarily do themselves.
It'd be almost like something like if you said like when you buy Sublime Text, you'll get a copy of, or when you buy Sublime, you'll get a copy of the book at 20% discount, or something like that. I don't know, something that you would throw in, or here's this video that everyone will get, this 20-minute introduction to Sublime Text video if you buy Sublime Text, plus you'll have a chance to win or whatever, a copy of Sublime or something like that. Or if you had some massive audience that they hadn't tapped into.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely gonna try to probably do some sort of promotion like that myself, because that's worked well in the past. So, I might try to make those like a quarterly or even monthly. I don't know. It seems like the impact might diminish after a while, but but it's a nice way to keep people on the list too, because if they know you do it, fairly regularly, they're more likely to stick around. So, and it hasn't been. I was worried that it was just going to be a bunch of freeloaders, but when I've done the promotion, I've done these promotions and then done like a sale right after that, and made a ton off the sale. So nice. I haven't tracked the results directly and said, okay, 100%. 20% of the people who signed up for this promotion also bought my book, but the numbers were convincing enough that probably a big chunk of them did.
Right.
But yeah, I got to get to that. I got to get a sustainable. If I can just get a sustainable influx of email signups, then I'll be in good shape.
Put together a short course like I did. I mean, mine was very last minute, wasn't planned out. I did it because my friends suggested I do it, and 400 subscribers later.
Yeah. But what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, so I had my book, the first third of it, go out to review for non-reviewers, and I got pretty good reviews. Like they said, the reviews were pretty close to what they would get at the end of the review process, like after going through several revisions. So I was happy with that. I'm not going to hit it big with the college students who know everything already.
Of course.
That's my bait. Like I just cannot communicate to the like I'm sorry if you already know everything and you're more because you're going to college, so can't really help there. But pretty positive. I'm at chapter 45 out of like 80, so I'm turning the corner. I'm on my way to getting there. I've actually asked them. We'll see what happens, but normally they do that MEEP early access program.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually asking them. I was just talking to. We'll see to suspend that and just not do an early access, just the release, because I don't want to. I have to choose. Like, am I going to send this out to my list and have people do the early access, buy it, or am I going to have them buy it when it launches the hard copy on Amazon, right? And I'd rather have everyone buy it on Amazon and give reviews on Amazon at once, because jumping up that list is going to be better than the MEEP list.
I don't have a lot of data to back this up, but I have anecdotal evidence to say no, you wouldn't. I've talked to a number of authors of books who say that, yeah, Amazon reviews are nice, but you don't make money off of Amazon sales. I mean, if you make 50% of a sale through your publisher, you might make 5% of the sale from Amazon. It's a ridiculous percentage. And sure, Amazon reviews are nice. You can point to those and say, look how much people are loving my book. But you can get people, you can just tell people, hey, thanks for the glowing review. Please go post it on Amazon.
But they can unless they purchased it, right?
No, you can review anything you want.
Yeah, you can
it will say this person did not purchase it from Amazon, but you can review it. You can review anything you want.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
You're going to be much better off with early access people giving you feedback and reviews and using that in your launch sequence to convince more people to buy it once it is done.
So the thing that I was thinking with that is, well, okay, as far as making money off of the book, I don't care about making money off of the book, really.
Okay.
I want to get the book in as many hands as possible, and if it becomes a popular book, like with the book, I don't want to make $10,000 off of this book or $15,000. I either want to make $200,000 or I don't care. Like you see what I'm saying? Like whatever I can do. If I have to roll the dice and it's like, oh, you made nothing off of the book, just your advance, or you hit it big with the book, I'd rather roll the dice and do that because I'm not writing the book to make money. I'm writing the book to make an impact. And
okay.
So that's why I was thinking, like, I mean, I obviously want to throw as much as possible because the Amazon, like, there's that certain point where if you hit enough sales in a day, like, it goes up on the chart, and then once it hits that chart, then people see it, and then the sales really spike off. So that's kind of what my thinking was. Like, from what you're saying, I totally agree with from a monetary perspective, but I'm wondering if I'm just worried about diluting the presence, because if a bunch of people buy it from the early access, and that'll be my biggest fans, because when I promote it out and they hear the book's live, all the people who follow this podcast, follow my blog and stuff are going to buy the book. I'd rather them all buy it on the day it launched on Amazon and give 5-star reviews on Amazon. But that's my thinking. I don't know. I could be wrong, though.
Yeah, you might want to look. Tim Ferriss. I'm gonna bring up Tim Ferriss again. Derick's absolute favorite person in the whole world. But he's got a really good series of blog posts about how to write a bestseller.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I would look those up and just study because he's got some pretty good step-by-step recommendations for how to do a big launch. Like,
I don't think I would trust Tim Ferriss's opinion on that.
On launching a book.
Pretty solid stuff. I mean,
he's done well now because he's done well in the past. He sells books now because he has sold books in the past.
Right, but he was a nobody when he launched 4-Hour Workweek. He was.
And the only reason that he was able to launch that book to success is because he did the marketing aspect of, let me find a title that everybody loves, and then I'll rewrite the book to match that title.
Well,
that's not really true. I mean, he did like.
That is very true. That's almost a direct quote out of the 80/20 marketing book.
Well, no, he did. They titled. I don't know that they rewrote the book. They definitely.
They rearranged all of the content to match the title.
They definitely tested the title. They definitely market tested that with Google AdWords. But I don't know where I was going with that.
But I have a very low opinion of Tim Ferriss.
I know.
But that's just me.
Well, but he knows what he's. As far as launching a book, he knows what he's doing because, I mean, here's what he did. He did a guerrilla approach. He contacted all kinds of blogs. He actually, so his story of how he launched the 4-Hour Work Week was he went out and he went to a couple of conferences. I think New Media Expo was one of them, or what it was called, Blog World or whatever. And he made connections there. He sent advanced copies of the book. He got all these bloggers together that he
Josh,
was making
your typing is banging really loud in your mic.
I'm sorry. That's.
Josh is looking it up.
You're going to have to get a swing arm for that thing and mount it on your wall.
But anyway, I think he made all these connections out there, and he basically got on all these podcasts. He got it so that when the book launched, it was already on fire. So
right. So yeah, ignore me. I'm not a fan of the guy.
I am like in between on it. Like, I don't know. Some of the stuff he says is really good and stuff, but
he's the kind of marketing person that I do not want to be. That's my beef with him. He's just all marketing and sales and. But whatever.
So
we're gonna get famous now because he's gonna listen to this episode and tear me apart.
All right, I guess we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, we should probably. We're like an hour and a half now.
Yeah, we do need to have a conversation at some point with Podcast Recorder. I'm going to refund the money.
Please do that.
Should I start looking for someone on Odesk? You guys want to do that as well? We need to just have a meeting about it. Let's just have a meeting next week about it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm start with that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
See you guys.
Take care.
Wanna start a business, but you just know how to code. Listen to John, Josh, and Derick as we figure it out. We are the Entreprogrammers, and we'll teach you straight